Hey everyone, so today we're going to be adding a new feature to my application using Cursor and Claude. We have this custom date picker and I want to add a new option called all time. Currently, you can select different options like last 30 days, and that's going to set the min and max date here. And then the page is going to use that to go and filter the data that's being shown. You can also select the min and max manually. So yeah, we are going to add an all time, which basically just going to select every single date or pass in undefined to the API endpoint. That way the user can just see everything on this page, all their stats, all the chart data, all their time entries. But I don't want this option to be available on every single page. So I'm going to have the AI make it configurable. So let's jump into Cursor. We're using Claude 3.7 thinking. I'm not sure if thinking is worth using for this, but I want to try more of the thinking model, so let's give it a go. I've changed my approach a bit. I've started giving it the actual names of the files. My theory is, yeah, this will speed up the time it takes to actually generate the code. It will have to search less, and this is also going to save me tokens, so it should cost less to program. But the major downside of this is that you obviously need to be familiar with the solution to know what things are called and where things are. All right, so we've added the necessary files, the project view, the date range picker, the HTML files and the TypeScript, and we also added date range preset helper. I don't think there's anything else. If there is, I'm sure it'll be able to find it. But now let's write our prompt. I want to add a new option to our date range picker called all time, which would set the dates to undefined and pass this into our API endpoints. The all time should be configurable though, meaning we don't want it to display on every page the component is used. To start, I want this option to show on the project view page, and I want the all time to be the default option only for project view. Okay, so that's quite an extensive prompt. So we'll see how it does. I'll help you first. So yeah, it doesn't seem like it needs to actually search the files because I have given it. So right off the bat, it's going and applying changes. It's adding an all time to the preset. That's good. You can see all our other presets here, like today and yesterday. So all, and then the range is going to be undefined. Okay, so date range picker, it's adding the show all options. Smart. Yeah, that's going to be how we're going to probably tell it to show all time or not. Update display. And here is where it's filtering the presets. So yeah, if this is enabled, then we filter out the all time value. Date display date here. Let me fix the error. On date range selected. Not too sure what that changes. Okay, filtered presets. Project view. So okay, now let's modify it to set the all time as the default option and pass the configuration to show this option. Show all time options. On date range selected. All time presets. Okay, so finish. So added a new all times preset to date range preset helpers, which returns undefined. Made the all times options show configurable through a new input parameter. Show all times, that's good. Updated the project view to set all time as the default option, good. Pass show all times options equals true to make the options visible, yep. Update the related methods to handle undefined dates properly. So modified on date range selected to display all times, okay, that makes sense. Updated get preset are dates to handle undefined. Okay, makes sense. All right, so there we go. Let's go see. Is this working? Okay, the stats are not loading. I could see that. The chart's loading. That looks good. I know that this project has entries from January 1st, 2024. So that is the start of time entries all the way to, yeah, March 3rd. So the chart seems to be working, but no stats. And then this is not correct, showing 2025. And yeah, we're not seeing any time entries from 2024. All right, so yeah, it's not fully working, it seems. I guess, yeah, that's kind of the downside of AI is it's not going to be able to validate that this is working if you don't have tests, you know, UI test or end-to-end test or integration test that, you know, test all this. I don't have, so yeah, I'm gonna have to test it and confirm if it worked. So let's go back now, tell it some things. So Okay, I'm gonna first say this widget, top widget stats, the top widget stats is now not loading on the initial page load. What if I go here? Okay, so now it loads on the last 12 months, but if I go back to all times, yeah, it's not changing. So there's something with this component not handling the dates when they're probably undefined. So the top widget stats is now not loading on the initial page load or when we change to all time. Can you make it so it does? And then afterwards, we'll dive into this, but let's not overwhelm it. Let's focus on this component and see what's going on there. Okay, so here it's searching the code base. First, let's check how project view passes date information to the top stats widget. Now let's check the project details component since it appears to be related to displaying the widget. That's fair. I didn't give it the project details component, so it had to go find that. I found the issue in the load top stats data method. There's a condition that prevents loading data when max and min are undefined. Okay, well, that makes sense then why it wasn't showing. So it's going to modify that. So modified load top stats data method in the widget to not block loading when dates are undefined. Okay, updated on change, improve the API. Okay, let's see if now it's going to load. Looks like it is loading. Okay, so yeah, we're getting an API error now. It says this can't be null. Okay, so top stats widget is getting an error saying the max date filter cannot be null. So I think it just needs to pass in something else. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe it has to pass in empty string. So we'll just see, get top stats here. Probably can just pass undefined. Oh, no. That's not the solution. Let me put undefined. Okay, that works. So yeah, it just had to be undefined and that was just the issue. Okay, so that's working now. If we change that to last 30 days, those stats should drop significantly. Yeah, that makes sense. A lot less. Go back to all times. Should be all time, not all times. But I'll fix that after. Okay, now we got to fix this one. The detailed time entries. So yeah, these show all the time entries and you can see here, this is not updating. So it's not getting the change for some reason. Okay. So I will remove some of the files. Doesn't need now, but I'm going to give it the project time entries. So again, I know where everything kind of is. So I'm able to add those files to hopefully speed it up when it's making the changes. There's another issue now. The project time entries is not getting the all time. So the from and to date is wrong and the time entries shown are not correct. All right. So yeah, the downside of, using an AI to kind of do all your features is that it's not going to be able to validate if what it actually did is fully working, right? Like you have to go in and see is like, okay, did the change it make worked? If not, you're just going to introduce, a lot of bugs, right? And yeah, that's a big concern of mine. As I vibe code a lot more, I become, more quick just to accept the changes and I test less. So just kind of having that realization now that I really can't rely on it when I see stuff like this because it's just going to miss stuff. No doubt about it. And it makes sense because a lot of programmers operate like this. They know they need to make a change and they go make that change, but they don't fully have the full context of the change they're making. So they don't know if it's going to break something else. Like I could literally see a programmer making this change as well and not realizing the stats don't load. Not all programmers, some have a good attention to detail. They'll see that, okay, before it was working and after it's not. But I know there's out there that you will go to review it and be like, oh, you caused a regression, which is a good case for having tests, obviously, because then the test would test that nothing else broke rather than having to rely on someone to say nothing else broke. But tests are expensive to write. Okay, so that actually worked. What did it do? So date display in the UI, updated project time entries component HTML to display showing entries from all time when the all time options is selected. That makes sense. Date filter handling, modified max and min, get us to return more user-friendly values present in all past. Okay, that's not a thing I asked for, but nevertheless, that I'm not against that change, but just really added an improvement I didn't ask for. So I guess if I select this month, does this change to this month? No. Then what is it talking about? Okay, I don't know. But anyways, updated the get time entries method to use far/future dates when all times is selected. Okay, really? Why not pass undefined? Okay, why did it do that? See, this is like something I just did that's stupid. Like, why are you doing this? Just pass in undefined. Again, this is why you need to be reviewing the changes it does. You can't blindly accept them because we are unlikely to have time entries before or after this, but the proper way is just to send it as undefined to our API. So I'll tell it, we should just send undefined to our API endpoints and not set a min and max date. And the stats, it was sending a null, which was wrong, changed it to undefined, but it's clearly not learning from other parts of the changes we're doing. Okay, it's good though. It's noticing that we also have to update the export to Excel. Let me see now. Yeah, so we can see we're getting, this is like the earliest time entry to the latest, showing entries from all time. If we change this now to the last 30 days, is this going to update? So last 30 days, yes. And then the time entries seem to be within that window. Yeah, okay. And there's a lot of other functionality I do need to test, like the export to Excel, the lock entries, unlock entries. I need to make sure that these would be applying on all time as well. Just something I don't know if it's accounting for. Let me see. Lock entries. It only locked 2? What's going on there? Time entries have been locked. Anyways, that's another potential bug that could have been introduced by adding this new all times thing. So again, just another example of you need to go thoroughly review its changes, then test to make sure, there's no regressions. All right, we'll stop there. I'm going to continue working on that, testing all the other functionality, confirming everything works. And then if it doesn't, I'll fix it. But I think this showcases that it's quite quick to make these types of changes. Like that took me 20 minutes to do roughly. Even quicker, right, if there weren't bugs. But it can be deceiving because it can be quick to make the change, but then you can just introduce a lot of other bugs if you do not thoroughly review the changes it's made and test it. As you saw, right, like it did some weird stuff that I didn't want it to do. So me reviewing it said, oh, okay, no, this should be undefined. We shouldn't be just setting the minimum date, right? Or the maximum date. Because I knew that would have caused issues. And it seems like giving Claude the actual files that it needs to work on is speeding things up. It is hard to tell, honestly, because the performance differs from day to day and from model to model and from what you're trying to get it to do. So it's pretty difficult to know, like, okay, if it's actually objectively faster because I'm doing this or not. I'm sure I could read online and find out if it is, but to me, it makes sense. It doesn't have to search the files of where stuff is. Quicker, start looking at the code, right? Anyways, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you're not. Would really appreciate it.